Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to start this lesson off by giving all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to our brothers who are fervently pushing the word in sincerity and in faith, and Shalom to all the sincere believers. Now, this lesson is going to be based on the 2 National Guard soldiers that got shot out in D.C. So, through the Spirit, I'm going to read this short paragraph and get some precepts, and Lord's will, you're edified. It says, D.C. National Guard shooting suspect faces charges of assault with intent to kill. U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Janine Pirro, named the 2 National Guard troops who were shot and critically injured in Washington, D.C. as Sarah Beckstrom and Andrew Wolf, both uniformed members of the West Virginia National Guard. Pirro went on to say the suspect, Ra Manola, Lakanwal, an Afghan national, is facing charges of assault with intent to kill and possession of a firearm during a crime of violence. Yeah, and as anybody who pays attention to, incidents that happen, especially here in this country, a lot of people have noticed that these Edomites, so-called white people on Twitter, are already spewing all of this racism towards, Afghan people. And, here in New York, Zoran Mamdani is going to be the mayor. And, I believe he's Indian. And these Edomites, these so-called white people, they really, are constantly showing their hatred for brown-skinned people, whether it's so-called black people, whether it's Hispanics, whether it's like Zoran Mamdani's people, they're always looking for a reason. These Edomites are always looking for a reason to show their hatred towards us, And so a few people have actually said it, that when a so-called black person commits a crime, these Edomites will, blame every single so-called black person and be like, oh, we need to kill all of them. We need to lynch them. We need to, all of the, all of that hatred that they have for us. Same with, any brown-skinned person, whether they're Hispanic, whether they're Indian, whether they're, Native American, whatever they are, so-called, when one of our people does something, these so-called white people, they want to target all of us. But yet when that white boy assassinated Charlie Kirk live on TV, and these Edomites found out that it was one of their people who did it, all of a sudden, oh, he has a mental illness. Oh, we need to just pray for him. So it's pray for him when it's one of theirs, but it's kill them all when it's somebody that has brown skin. That's how hypocritical and racist and hateful these so-called white people are. And yet you still have brown skinned people that are trying to please so-called white people. It's like they're never gonna like you. Like, when Zoran Mamdani, when he won that election to be the president, I mean, not the president, Slovakia, the mayor of New York, everyone was like, all these Edomites were like, oh my God, it's going to be 9/11 all over again. And it's like, he had nothing to do with that. Like, how, like, the way that these Edomites, these so-called white people will just, demonize anybody that's not a so-called white person is it's actually wild, like just how extreme they'll go with that. Meanwhile, all throughout history, so-called white people have, raped, robbed, murdered, lied, cheated, committed land theft. How do you think they got America? You know, but yet they'll say that all brown skinned people are the criminals. Like here it is, these so-called white people are running or are in control of stolen land, whether they're here in America, up in Canada, damn near anywhere else in the world. They're on stolen land. They're on land that does not belong to them. They're on land where their ancestors either committed a damn near genocide or a full genocide on the original inhabitants of that land. So these so-called white people are the biggest criminals on earth, but yet they'll say that it's everybody else. And a couple of people whose videos I saw pointed it out that basically what this situation is going to do is cause people who are, from Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, places like that who live here in America, they're going to get targeted by these so-called white people because of what one person did. One Afghan person shot two National Guard troops. So now Esau is going to blame all of them. And you're going to see, these Edomites attacking these people, these people who had nothing to do with this situation, because that's how Esau moves. You know, that's how Esau moves. And a lot of people have been saying that this was like this whole thing was set up because Esau is trying to push a narrative. The so-called white man wants to push the narrative that, oh, brown skinned people are criminals and, they need to be removed from America so that, these Edomites can have their all white America, which is never going to happen because the Lord is going to destroy this place before it ever gets to that point. But yeah, that's basically what this is. That's why you see more brown faces on the news when a crime is committed, because they so desperately want everyone to hate brown skinned people, especially their own people. Edomites want other Edomites to just hate anybody that doesn't look like them. And honestly, it works. It works. We see it all the time. We hear it all the time. So we know that it's working. That propaganda it's definitely working. And we're gonna see a lot of chaos in this country, a lot more chaos, a lot of racial chaos, because it's basically these so-called white people against everybody else. And they're the ones ultimately, of course, the Heavenly Father is doing it, but he's using these Edomites to push that. You know, it's going to be so-called white people versus all the brown skinned people. And Esau knows that they would lose that. That's why they want to ban, you know, South Africans from coming here. They want to ban all the Muslims from coming here. They want to get rid of all the Mexicans and all the Latinos that are here. They want to get rid of all the brown skinned people because they know that if more and more brown skinned people are allowed in this country, they're going to get outnumbered. They're probably already outnumbered. And it scares them because these Edomites so desperately want to start race wars. You know, that's what they want. They want to start race wars. And if they're outnumbered by the very brown skinned people that they hate so much, they know they're gonna lose that. So they're trying to, you know, make sure that their numbers outnumber everybody else. But at the end of the day, those of us of the hopeful elect who have been blessed with the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of these scriptures, we know that the Lord is going to wipe out these Edomites regardless. They're going to lose America. They're going to lose wherever in the world they dwell. The Lord is going to destroy all of it. And these Edomites are going into slavery. So all this hate that they have and all this violence that they want to uh, act upon towards brown skinned people, it's all going to come back to bite them. 2 Timothy 3 and 1. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. And that's right. And you see it in particular with the racial tension. You know, you got Trump, his wicked ass. You know, he's, demonizing people out in South Africa. He's demonizing the Latino migrants and basically any brown skinned migrants, regardless of where they're from. But yet he'll willingly allow Edomite migrants to come into the country. And a lot of people have caught on to that and are like, yeah, this doesn't look suspicious at all. You're getting rid of the brown people and bringing in more so-called white people. Yeah, we already know what's going on with that. And like I said, this is going to lead to, the very thing that these Edomites want so badly, which is race wars. Because all of these brown-skinned people are going to get so tired of, getting pushed around. When a lot of these brown-skinned people haven't done anything wrong. They're just trying to live their life. And of course, within any nation or race, there's going to be bad apples. There's going to be people that are out here doing, committing crime and hurting people. But to demonize everybody of that nation, of that race, because of what some of them are doing, that's crazy. Just like we can't say that all white people are Edomites because we know that's not the case. Due to a lot of racial mixing, there are Israelites, so-called black people, so-called Hispanics, so-called Native Americans, who look like Edomites because you have the Israelite men laying down with these Edomite women. So the child could come out looking like a so-called white person, but because of the seed line of their father, they're an Israelite. So we can't say that every white person a is an Edomite because that would be inaccurate. Just like we can't say that every so-called black person is a so-called black person because we don't know. Like I said, you have a lot of these Israelite women laying down with these Edomite men. So the child could come out very dark skinned, but that child is an Edomite because of their father. So we can't really say that all of a certain nation or all of a race is, a certain type of way because we don't know who's who really. We don't know. I mean, we can try the spirit by the spirit. That's what the scriptures say. Because Edomites have a certain spirit about them and Israelites have a certain spirit about them. So you can determine who, to an extent, you can determine who's who by the spirit that they're in. You know. But at the end of the day, there is going to be race wars in this country. Because these so-called white people, they are hell bent on getting rid of brown skinned people. And it also goes into the fact that these Edomites, they can see that their precious little America is crumbling. The Lord has been destroying this place, you know, slowly but surely. And it's becoming more evident. And these Edomites, they know that their time is short. They know that they don't have much time left to be ruling. So they're trying to throw anything and everything at the wall and hope that it sticks. And many brothers have said that when these Edomites can't deceive their way out of a situation, they turn violent. And that's the direction that things are going in, especially in this country. You know, you got Trump. That man is on a war path. You know, he wants to go to war with Mexico. He wants to go to war with Venezuela. He wants to go to war with South Africa. He wants to go to war with basically everybody. You know, and that just proves the nature of these Edomites. They're violent. They're a violent nation of people. And I've seen so many people of different nations, you know, calling them out on that, on how these Edomites try so hard to, you know, demonize everybody else when they themselves are the most violent people. It says Matthew 24:12, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And we're seeing that. We're seeing the love of many wax cold. Everybody's turning on each other. Nobody trusts anybody out here. You know, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of hatred, there's a lot of division, there's a lot of violence. And this is the way that the Lord has set it up. Because like it says in Exodus 15:3, the Lord Yahweh is a man of war. The Lord Yahweh is his name. So ultimately the Heavenly Father himself is the one causing all of this division and violence. Because the Lord ultimately wants there to be civil war and race wars and ultimately world war. Luke 12:51, suppose ye that I am come to give peace on earth? I tell you nay, but rather division. And that's, like I said, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing that division. Especially here in America. And that division is going to continue to increase into violence. In particular, racial violence. And this is the way that the Lord is setting things up. You know, you're going to see a lot more incidents where a brown skinned person may commit a crime against a so-called white person, and these so-called white people are going to use that single incident as more in their head reasoning to be violent towards all brown skinned people. And this recent situation with that Afghan person shooting those 2 National Guard troops or soldiers or whatever, we see that, you know, these Edomites are using that situation to be like, oh yeah, you know, these these brown skinned people from the so-called Middle East, they're nothing but violent criminals, and they're terrorists and all of these hateful things. And what you're going to end up seeing a lot more of is, you know, these kids, especially from Western Asia, you know, that part of Asia, what that they call the Middle East, they're going to start getting bullied a lot more in school and things like that. You know, you're going to see uh, brown skinned women from, India and Afghanistan and places like that, getting verbally assaulted and even in some cases physically assaulted on the streets by these Edomites, all because these Edomites are looking for a reason. Because they hate brown skinned people. They hate anybody that's not a so called white person. And they need something to happen where a brown skinned person hurts a so-called white person, so that then these so-called white people can feel justified in being violent. And basically that's what this incident in their wicked mind gave them. It gave them an excuse. Just like how, like I said, that the one so-called black man who killed that so-called white woman on the train. And all you saw in the comment section was these so-called white people just saying the most hateful, racist things, calling for, just violence. And this is what they do. They pick incidents where a brown skinned person or so called black person does something against a so called white person, and they'll just push that out and they'll show that like non-stop, just drilling it into people's head because they so desperately want their own people to just have nothing but pure hatred towards brown skinned people. But yet, like I said earlier, when a so called white person commits a crime against a so called black person or a so called Mexican or a Latino or just any brown skinned people, then all of a sudden, oh, that person just had a mental illness. We should just pray for them. Their family was a good family. Their family didn't raise them like that. These Edomites give each other the benefit of the doubt. But yet, when it's the other way around, it's all hatred. It's all, kill them all. We got to lynch them. We got to stone them, ban them from the country, just all of this hatred. And seeing as we're in the last days, we're going to start seeing more brown skinned people basically giving these Edomites the same energy. And that's going to lead to physical conflict. Because everybody is fed up with the hypocrisy of these Edomites. It's okay when the Edomites do it, but it's not okay when anybody else does it kind of mindset. Everyone's real fed up with that. And the Lord is pushing this. The Lord is the one pushing this division. He's the one causing these events to happen just so that a race war will break out. Because the wicked people from whatever nation that are going to get, from all these nations that are going to get caught up in it, are going to be judged by the Lord, by them being hurt or being killed in these upcoming race wars. See, the Lord is ultimately the orchestrator of all of these things. But as I've said before, in the end, these Edomites, these so-called white people, they're the ones that are ultimately going to lose, because the Lord is going to destroy America regardless of what these Edomites want to do, regardless of what they try to do. These Edomites in the kingdom, they're going to be in chains. The wicked men, the wicked women, and the wicked children, their little demon spawn, they're all going to be in chains. So the Edomites are going to lose on this side, and then they're going to be losers in the kingdom too. And that's what those of us of the Hopeful Elect have to focus on. No matter how much hatred these Edomites spew towards us, we have to keep in mind that ultimately the Lord is going to destroy them. He's going to destroy these Edomites, these so-called white people, the ones who are actually Edomites, not the ones who just look like them. The world is going to be a much better place once the Lord erases these Edomites from it. And that's going to happen sooner than later. But before that happens, all hell and violence is going to break loose. There will be race wars, there will be civil war, and there will be world wars. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. In closing, I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Rakakodash. The water Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are fervently pushing the word in sincerity and in faith. And shalom to all the sincere believers. Hope you all stay strong, stay safe, stay fervent, stay circumspect, stay prayed up, and Adawan Ratazah. Until next time, shalom.